Welcome to the Business Boys Talkin Business Virtual Power Lunch. Please welcome your hosts, Tyler Price and Brian Magleby.
Tyler Price got a big old haircut. Look at that. Lost the goofy glasses. Got a haircut.
I decided it was time to be drastic.
Wow.
Ditch the glasses, shave the head.
Welcome to the new Tyler Price. If Tyler is listening, which I'm sure he is, he would be saying, "Man, I need to get a haircut like that guy." So
That was not my idea, Tyler.
I know you own a barbershop. You could look this good, Tyler. So I'm gonna pay for that one, aren't I?
No, Tyler's gonna find me on the street.
Yeah, that's all right. So Tyler, last minute trip to Utah. And so he called me yesterday afternoon. He's like, "Man, I hate to do this, but I have to be in Utah tomorrow." So I called the one and only Chip Langerak with Arthur Berry. When I knew that we were talking about the training topic that we have today, there is no one better to be talking about what the training topic is of valuing your business for sale than having Chip here. So
well, thank you.
I called him and he was more than willing to come and co-host today. So welcome to the Talkin Business platform. So we're excited about the show this week. And by the way, we have some big things coming up for 2022. We've already got some things in the works that we're going to be teasing it over the next couple of weeks. By the way, we only have 2 more shows left on the 14th and 21st.
That's 2 more weeks I have to Christmas.
That's right. That's about it. So if you haven't got it done, you need to get her done. So, but we're going to be off on the week after Christmas in between there. So we're going to miss. That's the only show we're going to miss in the year 2021. So we've got 2 more shows today and 2 more shows. We'll do it. But last week we had Jeremy Hicks. Oh, you know Jeremy Hicks, don't you? The golden voice, the golden hair, talking about hair. So we had Jeremy on. Great things happening at BBSI. What a great company that BBSI is. That I deal with them almost not on a daily basis, but close to. Yeah. And what a great company they're doing. And Jeremy not only leading this group here in Idaho Falls, but he's leading the Twin Falls group.
I can't imagine how he's keeping up with both of those.
He is. He's put a lot of miles on and a lot of phone calls. But he's got a great company. We've appreciated their sponsorship of Talkin Business this year. We couldn't have done the show without them. And if your business needs any human resource needs, I encourage you to look at BBSI. In fact, let's talk about our sponsors that we have that make this show possible. We have New Line Media, and we're going to show a video of theirs at the end. You got to stay tuned at the end of the show. We're going to show a little video that New Line has about what services they have. They've done a phenomenal job of producing our show each and every week. Vulpine Marketing keeps our website up to date. All of our shows from the whole entire year are on our website, thanks to Vulpine Marketing, the SBDC. And what does Tyler always say about the SBDC? That it's the biggest hidden gem for businesses in all of Idaho. If your business needs coaching, check out IdahoSBDC.org. Free consulting with the SBDC. And of course, you mentioned that last one,
Idaho Innovation Center.
Yeah, it's a good place.
Yeah. I mean, you got to get that in there. It is a good place. It's doing great things.
They pay me my paychecks. So it's a great little place, and we are excited to have them as all of the sponsors for Talkin Business. So as I said, we've got some big changes coming up next year. So let's talk about the show that we have today. Jason Averill from Avercast. Now, I'm gonna lay some money out there that not a lot of people know about Avercast.
I would agree with that.
Comes from a small little town that I live in called Rigby, Idaho.
Yeah. And
I can tell you that it is a hidden big gem there in Rigby. What a amazing company. As I've got to know this company over the last few months, they're a tenant at the Idaho Innovation Center. I am just been blown away at what this company does out of Little Rigby.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear even more about what's happening there.
It is. It's a phenomenal company, and wow, and some of our topics the last couple months we've talked about. I don't think there's really been a week that we haven't mentioned the word supply chain. And these guys have nailed supply chain, and because it's been such a big topic, it is. That's why I'm excited to have him on here and talk about what he has done to revolutionize the supply chain management for companies. And we're not talking little companies that are in Firth and Shelley, Blackfoot, Idaho. We're talking worldwide companies. And that's all happened out of Rigby, Idaho. So Jason is going to be here. We're going to play a little video here to introduce Avercast. We'll give you kind of an idea of what they do and some of the people that they deal with. So it's a quick 3-minute video that will introduce you to Avercast, and then we'll welcome Jason Averill, CEO of Avercast, on to our show.
Meet John. He is a demand planner for a company that sells widgets all over the world, in stores and online. It's his job to get the right amount of the right products to the right places at the right time. This job is as hard as it sounds, and using spreadsheets doesn't cut it anymore. John needs advanced, full-featured demand management and forecasting software, like Avercast. Avercast, with over 200 advanced forecasting algorithms, is feature-rich, loved by demand planners, and trusted by executives. So what is forecasting and how does it work? The basic nature of forecasting is to utilize historical data to forecast future demand. Each forecasting algorithm has an ability to properly predict a distinct demand pattern. Avercast gives you 208 chances to identify and forecast the correct demand pattern. Other systems may only have 12 or even 20 algorithms, and you can only ever identify 12 or 20 distinct demand patterns. Comparing 20 to 208 may seem like overkill, but the more algorithms a system has, the more likely it will be to give you a better forecast. With Avercast, you can load sales histories into our system. Avercast will then put the history through a process called backcasting, utilizing artificial intelligence and machine learning. Each and every time you run a forecast, the backcasting process runs through a tournament of the 208 forecasting algorithms against all available history, and registers which of the 208 algorithms was the most accurate. Essentially, every time you forecast, we give you 208 chances to get the forecast right. That is over 10 times more chances for a more accurate forecast than most others, not even mentioning basic spreadsheets. Let's take a look at some common scenarios. An order to a vendor is only enough product to fill 80% of a container. With less advanced or spreadsheet methods, you are forced to either take the hit on shipping costs or fill the rest of the container with random items. Avercast can automatically pull the next most pertinent future demand forward to ensure you are shipping a full container load. This way, you are not only simply filling the empty balance of the container with random items, but rather with the next most pertinent demand items that are projected to go into and out of your warehouse the fastest, keeping your inventory turns high. When collaborating with a sales team, they are often incentivized to give the supply team bad data. Salespeople may give low numbers so they meet quotas or inflate numbers so they have a safety stock. Avercast gives you the ability to measure and track a salesperson's individual bias, so that in the event that only 80% of what the salesperson tells you is going to happen typically comes true, you can promote only 80% of their suggested change to forecast. Ultimately, demand planners are on the hook for the inventory, and it's important that you have all the tools necessary to understand how to best collaborate with sales professionals. What about just speed in general? With spreadsheets, you are forced to spend hours organizing and importing your data without any guarantee that all the information is correct. With Avercast, you get up-to-date information at any given point through integration with your ERP system. You no longer have to worry about making sure all the formulas are calculated correctly, and can have confidence in avoiding those expensive errors. Simply click Run a Forecast and watch thousands of SKUs processed within seconds. To learn more about our feature-rich, most advanced customizable software, schedule a demo today and see for yourself the difference Avercast software can make for your business. Avercast, the trusted name in demand management.
Wow. That, bet you that 90% of the people on that's watching the show right now knew nothing that was happening in Little Rigby, Idaho.
I didn't. I
Yeah.
had no idea. No idea.
You know, most of the community will come into Rigby and they'll ask me if I can fix their broken computer.
Well,
After I explain to them everything we do in supply chain, they come back to me and they say, well, my nephew's got a broke computer. Can you fix it?
yeah.
Sure enough, I have some guys. We fix it.
Do
get
you
it back.
really? Yeah. That's great. Good deal. Well, tell us a little bit about Avracast. I mean, I think it's a big hidden gem in little old Rigby, but tell us about why you got started.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. You know, it's kind of been a long history, and I'll try to shorten it up as best as I possibly can here. I am a second generation forecasting and supply chain expert. My father was kind of the world's foremost authority in what we do. He'd gotten his start back in the military. He was a Marine Corps colonel, and he was a commanding officer at the Defense Logistics Agency. And if you'll remember, well, some of us don't remember, but some of us might, about back during the Vietnam War. You know, that was the first time we'd ever had a prolonged wartime experience where we didn't have a lot of neighbors close by to help us out. We had a major supply chain hub in Okinawa, Japan, where the U.S. stored a lot of their goods and, you know, different calibers of ammunitions, food, toilet paper, all sorts of things. And it was kind of the reverse of what we have today, where today we're manufacturing everything in Asia and we've got long lead times to get those products over here to the United States. In those days, we were manufacturing in the United States and pushing product to Japan and then into the war theater in Vietnam. And the military was having a crisis mode where they were running out of stock on all sorts of things, from calibers of ammunition to toilet paper. And my dad was kind of a math genius, and he had been tapped to go in and solve that problem and try to get the forecast correct, to get the right inventory at the right place at the right time. And he was very successful in doing that. And the general, who was the one-star general over the base in Okinawa at the time, took my dad and they went around to other supply chain hubs and got them straightened out as well. And at the conclusion of the Vietnam War, they kind of asked my dad, they said, hey, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And he said, I want to go to the Defense Logistics Agency because there's this company called IBM inventing computers. And
Back in the day.
Perhaps
one of the big names back in the day.
Absolutely. And he said, well, perhaps we could write a program that can kind of automate these things they were doing by hand, and the rest is history. He wrote a system, and then after he realized he had a lot of success doing that, when the private sector after he retired. He was a young colonel. He was only 40 years old, and he was able to have a second career. And that was the business I grew up in, was supply chain technology.
Wow. And we're still trying to solve the problem of how to get toilet paper from point A to point B.
That's right.
Is that too on the nose?
I'm working on that. If you know some toilet paper manufacturers, have contact.
Yeah. Good deal. Well, so talk about how Avracast came about in Rigby, Idaho.
Yeah, that's a question I get asked all the time. Everybody's always like, why Rigby? Well, to make it even more interesting, it was originally in Ryrie.
Yeah.
And then we went to Rexburg, and then we settled down finally in Rigby. My father had grown up in Bellevue, Idaho, loved Idaho. Being a Marine Corps brat, we moved around a little bit, and I just loved Idaho. I loved the fishing. And so we decided to move up here in 2006, and I officially, with my father, launched Avracast in 2008 out of Ryrie. And for us, with our business, the way technology is, and being able to connect and communicate online with a lot of people, it really doesn't matter where in the world we're at, so long as we're close to an airport. We can kind of get to people when we have to, but really a lot of what we do, we can do online anymore. And so it really didn't matter where we're at, and where better to raise kids than in the communities of Ryrie, Rigby, and Southeast Idaho.
Absolutely.
Where did you get the name Avracast? I mean, we know it's part of your last name, I would guess, and fishing.
Right.
Is that where it came from?
No, it's actually a combination of our last name and forecasting. So Avracast, Forecast. My father kind of had a name in our industry, being that he was the first pioneer to write this kind of technology for the military. He gained a lot of traction in the private sector where people recognized what he did. In fact, McDonnell Douglas had hired him straight out of the Marine Corps for about 5 years, where they built an entire division around him called the Mac Auto Division, and that took us out to Southern California, where we settled there. And he was developing the same kind of technology for the Johnson & Johnson and Procter & Gamble type companies. But my father always felt like he could do better on his own and kind of control his destiny, so he broke off, and the rest is history.
Wow.
It's the entrepreneur's story.
That is.
Right?
That is. So you got to love that. So.
Yeah. So What I'm really fascinated by is how all of this has played out since the beginning of COVID. And I remember that we were in California back in, I think, May, and I started seeing the ships lined up outside of Long Beach Harbor. And I spent enough time there with family that I know that that doesn't usually look like a parking lot.
Right.
Right. There's usually a line, not an entire parking lot of these ships there.
Yep.
So I'm curious how we all have this sense of the supply chain problems delaying products, but I'm curious how it's changing as it unfolds, and are we just moving to the next bottleneck, or what do we have to look forward to here, Jason?
So, well, there's a lot in that question.
There's a lot, yeah. I'm sorry.
And I love supply chain. I study it all the time. My friends, they get nerded out. They're looking at me like, "What are you doing? We don't want to hear about supply chain," but I love it. So I appreciate the question, and I love talking about supply chain. The reality is it's bad. And if for those people who have been down to the coast and seen all of the ships, it's a parking lot out on the ocean, and it's becoming very problematic. When you go to the store and things are stocked out, that anger monkey feeling you get, you can't buy that one thing you need. Yep, that is prevalent everywhere right now. And for us, that's why we're in business, right? We help companies avoid that problem. So there's a couple problems that are happening. There's still, and even though my father invented this technology back in the 70s and 80s, and late 60s, 70s, and 80s, there's still not a lot of companies that are utilizing this product. And you mentioned earlier about small companies, and I think Firth and Shelley, or you mentioned down to Blackfoot. We actually have a customer in Blackfoot.
Do you really?
Spudnik is one of our customers, and they're awesome. Yeah. But that's generally kind of on the smaller side of our customer base. A lot of our customers are Fortune 500 companies. But even in the biggest of companies, sometimes they're still utilizing spreadsheets. I know some big businesses around here that I hear through the grapevine. Some of them are still utilizing spreadsheets for doing their forecasting and planning, and therein lies the problem. There is a technology that exists that can help people understand the true demand, understand while we can't predict COVID, we can adjust for it. And the system utilizing artificial intelligence and machine learning can pick up the trends and ensure that you're still in stock. And what that means is, where it used to take you 3 months to get product out of China, maybe now it's 5 or 6, and the system automatically picks up on that, makes the adjustments, adjust your safety stock strategies to ensure that you are in stock when the customer wants your product. And if you're trying to do all of that by hand or in a spreadsheet, it's just not fair. So if you're out there and you're doing this by hand in a spreadsheet, tell your boss it's not fair. Talk to the guys in Rigby, and we'll come take care of you.
There, exactly. So tell us some of the, there's been company after company, and all you have to do is walk through the mall or go into a major box retailer, try to find some things, and it's not there.
Yep.
So tell us, since it's so prevalent, everybody knows you can't have a newscast that you're not hearing about what's happening in the Long Beach, California, usually. So tell us about what have some of your customers, the successes that they've had versus what some of the others. We know what some of the others have had.
Absolutely. And I'm under some non-disclosure agreements, but I'm going to give you some very general scenarios. Some of my customers are big companies. They're very competitive industries. And sometimes when you've got product A and product B that are on the shelf next to each other, it comes down to which one's in stock.
Yeah.
Literally. And the risk you run is, if the product's not in stock and your competitor is, they might buy it for the first time and like it, and you lose that customer forever. So it has been revolutionizing and game-changing for a lot of my customers lately who have been able to stay on track with COVID. So originally, they were initially taking a hit and forecasting to take a hit. But as other companies fell off and weren't able to keep their products in stock, and our customers were, I have one customer in particular, a big billion-dollar global household name brand that you would all know, and their number one competitor went bankrupt during COVID, and these guys grew at 25%.
That's crazy.
That's what you get if you do business with Abraham.
You talk to the upper echelons there. Their CFO had to do some analysis to figure out, why are we winning? Where is this extra money coming from? And they boiled it down to Abracast keeping in stock.
Does it often boil down to one place where things are getting hung up? We always talk about the harbor, but once you get it off the boat, then there have to be enough trucks to get it to the end user, right?
So trucking obviously is a huge problem right now. The number of trucks, and we've actually done a project with a big retailer that you guys all know of, where we had to forecast and plan as they were opening stores how many truckloads they needed to supply the stores, because as they got up into Canada, they didn't have trucking companies there like we have here. They had them, but just not the overabundance that we have. And so they were running into problems. And so we actually told the entire store, how many products go into a container on a truck to go to that store, and as they're opening them, one a month or something, we're actually forecasting and telling them how to go. So it does extend into trucking, shipping containers. Just getting shipping containers in China right now is near impossible. The manufacturers in China getting product from their suppliers, the raw material suppliers, the train companies, the shipping companies over there, everybody is experiencing this problem. And the one thing that COVID really exposed was supply chain risk. And if companies aren't talking about supply chain risk enough, what does that mean if all of your eggs are in the Wuhan manufacturing basket? Well, you should have had some in Vietnam, you should have had some in Malaysia and other places, because when that one area went down. Today, there's actually something going on. I don't know if you guys have been following this, but Amazon's AWS took a major hit today. And a lot of prevalent technology and big companies that rely on Amazon's technology right now is dead in the water. Well, it's all about redundancies. And if you have AWS running, but you also have a similar system spun up to Microsoft Azure, well, you've got your backup, and you can spin off and run on two different systems. But today, in this day and age, you have to assess supply chain risk, truly understand what your risks are on a more macro level, and to understand, because everybody, it's not just Long Beach Harbor, everybody's experiencing supply chain problems.
I was just going to say that you're talking in the context of these really large companies. It hits the smallest of the mom and pop companies too. And it's funny you said eggs in basket. My wife's restaurant right now, the hardest thing she's having a hard time getting is the frozen egg patties that she uses for sandwiches. And
Right.
so even as the tiniest business owner, she's got to sit down and say, well, what do I need to do? Do I need to put a new menu item out that doesn't have egg in it? And so it's so interesting how it plays out at the tiniest company possible, or the Fortune 500 or Fortune 100 even companies around the world.
I bet you that there's millions of companies out there that after they've seen these issues that they're having right now, that they wish they had contacted you, years before, so that they weren't having these type of issues. What do you see is I guess if you were to look into a glass ball of what's this gonna be like in the coming years?
Well, I think especially for technology companies like mine, I mean, it's awesome. Huge opportunity to be the guy that comes in to kind of saves the day in the meantime. But with artificial intelligence and machine learning, I'm very excited about the future and the capabilities and things that it's doing for our technology. And a lot of times people think that this new technology is eliminating the human component, and that's just not the case. Forecasting inventory is always kind of a part art, part science. You've got to have the science, the system that can do all of the hundreds of millions of calculations very quickly. And the system kind of goes back, it looks at history, sales history, say, or an order history or a shipment history, and it looks at that history and then runs a tournament of 208 forecasting algorithms to see over history which algorithm most accurately mimicked the correct demand pattern. And then it selects that to go forward. And so all of that's really cool, and we get into the concepts of artificial intelligence where it can start to understand and map certain demands to certain algorithms to certain demand patterns. But you still have that human component. And the idea now is you can do more on a smartphone, and you can do more sitting at a keyboard than you ever could before to change the world with technology. So I'm excited because with the advent of machine learning and artificial intelligence, we're able to give the end users so much more power. They can take the tribal knowledge of the company. They know how things sell. They know their business. Marry that up with the tech, and hopefully going forward, the end result of all of this COVID mess is people will have more of a focus on technology for supply chain, and we'll start having the right product in the right place at the right time when we want.
No more educated guesses of let's just order some extra. It's just probably not going to work out.
If you're just doing that today, and your competitor's not, you're going out of business.
Yes.
You cannot compete. It's no longer okay to just order too much inventory, keep it around. The cost of carrying inventory will drag you underwater and kill you. You just can't do it.
And so talk about some of the automakers. I know that there's miles and miles of fields in Michigan that have vehicles just sitting there, all done, but they can't get the little chips and stuff.
Yeah, the silicon shortages and everything. I mean, it's surprising how when we talk about, my specific industry is forecasting and demand planning. We kind of roll it all up into the topic of demand management. And when you talk about, you might have somebody in Wuhan, China, who's sitting there at a spreadsheet with all the pressure of the world, where he's got to get the raw materials and all of the ingredients to build these chips. And he doesn't have technology like Avercast. He's doing like anybody else, kind of putting his finger in the wind and saying, I think this next month's going to behave like the last year. And that's what's happening.
Yeah.
They're trying to say, well, this quarter will be like the quarter a year ago, so that's going to be my forecast going forward, and it's just not. And it can't keep up with what's happening. And the poor guy over there, if you really drill down to who's making the decisions that is shorting the silicon, that goes into the chips that now has created such a backlog, you'd be surprised to find out who the actual decision makers are.
Oh, no, I
Wow.
bet. Bet you could drill down that far too. So
We can help with that.
good. And we have a guest on the show. We ask him, we fill out a questionnaire, and for all those entrepreneurs who are watching the show and wondering, what are some things that are smart to do in business. And I want to read just a couple things that Jason put down there, that some of the key things of being successful in business. And grit, firmness of mind or spirit, unyielding courage in the face of hardship or danger. 10-6, when you expect to do 6 things, always deliver 10. Under promise and over deliver. And then the last one, wisdom and effort, work smarter and harder. That is great advice to be given to the entrepreneurs out there, especially those that may be wailing from some supply chain issues. So explain how has that worked for you to grow your successful company?
When it comes down to it as an entrepreneur, I mean, it's really just you. It's you at late hours. It's you all by yourself trying to outsmart your competition, trying to break into maybe a really hard environment. And there's when I like that saying that you referenced, it comes from Concilio et Labore. It's Manchester United, my favorite soccer team. It's their slogan on their coat of arms. And really, it balances working. I mean, a lot of people will say work smarter, not harder. And I'll say work harder and smarter.
There you go.
You have to marry those two. And in this business world today, to compete, you don't have a choice. If you're not outworking your competitor, they're going to outwork you. And as an entrepreneur, you got to have grit. You just can't give up. When a customer, especially in the early days of being an entrepreneur, when you're able to land that first customer, make them a test case study. Deliver everything you can. If they ask you for the 6 things, you deliver 10. And I've instituted that model with my employees. I have a number of employees, I'll tell you right now, they're a 10 out of 6. That's how we phrase it. That's how we call it, because I ask them for 6 things. They always come back with 10. You got to surround yourself with people that are like-minded. You can go out and hire the industry's greatest expert, and they'll tell you how great they are. Those aren't the kind of people that are necessarily for me. I want people that are industry experts, but they're humble enough. They got the grit to get the job done. They're not going to say, hey, it's 5 o'clock, I'm clocking out, I'm going home. They're the people that they get it done, and then they tell me about it later. Hey, I had to work some overtime, and I'll pay them for it, no problem. But you got to have people that are just committed to get the job done.
Yeah. Excellent advice, and I'm gonna add to it here with another paragraph, because what he put here is golden nuggets of information. I mean, I can say we've had some business geniuses on this show this past year, but when I read this, this fit into that category. Little background information here. Sorry about that. So it says, as a small business owner or manager of a small business, you wear many hats. You may be the CEO, COO, CFO, CMO, HR director, salesperson, customer support person, cashier, or janitor, all rolled into one. In this case, CEO stands for Chief Everything Officer. It is impossible to be the expert in every category. Chances are you will be talented in only 1 or 2 areas. It's important to seek out advice from competent experts in each field. Do your homework. Identify the best local subject matter experts. Develop genuine friendships with them. Ask them questions and act on their advice. I hope that you listen to that. Rewind that, and it is golden nuggets of information there. And I'm sure that some of this stuff your dad installed in you.
That's right. We're all about business relationships. You have to be in business. And you have to know, you have to be humble enough to know that you don't know everything. Sometimes you get that tendency, you're really good at that one thing, and then the tendency is just assume that you're good at everything. And you have to know you're not. And you have to know that I believe that the Lord blesses people with talents, and there are plenty of people in the community that have the talents that you stand in need of. It's all about team building. And as an entrepreneur, you don't have to always pay for that advice. I mean, sometimes you do, but you can make friends with people, a genuine friendship with colleagues that will be there to give you the advice. And then make sure you're not second guessing it. That's a mistake people get into. Oh, that's just Joe over there, and he's telling me this and that. And, Well, it happens to be he's a subject matter expert in that, and you should probably listen to him.
You should probably listen to him. I understand that you have some different things brewing in the future. You have this guy is as I say a business genius, but he's come up with another project that somewhere you're going to be doing something on. Kind of talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is, and I think you're referring to our Fanbuku project. Yes. And Fanbuku is something that's generated a lot of buzz. We had a project done by BYU Idaho and the Research Business Development Center that was done several years ago, where they went out and they looked at other ways we could utilize our technology, specifically in the realm of fantasy sports forecasting, which is something I know a lot of people really enjoy.
Yes,
yep.
Well, that's a huge topic.
And so we've got an app that's coming out shortly. It's called Fanbuku, Fanbuku. If you Google it right now, if you look for it, I promise you're not going to find it. That's on purpose.
Yes.
We've got the app. We've been in development. It's getting ready to be released in time for March Madness. We're going to have a beta test group that's going to play the game with us. But my goal is by fantasy football season in 2023 to have a full-fledged version of the app. The testing has been very exciting.
Wow.
It's amazing what you can do with this app, forecasting out next week's sports results.
Yeah.
And then playing the fantasy sports.
So this year we have Jason on with Avercast. Next year maybe it'll be with a new idea that he has in this Fanbuku. There is exciting things happening. Avercast, what a phenomenal company. I don't think, and I think I'm not the only one, all the people watching that probably didn't know that this successful of a company is existing here in Rigby, Idaho.
Yeah, kind of under the radar. It's
Yes.
all right, though. We like it that way.
You like it that way. So is there anything else that you want the audience to know about Avercast?
You know, I mean, it's all about building a team. Obviously, I can't do any of this without my team. And we have a slogan at Avercast that we win together. There was a quote by Harry Truman that I really love, and this is something that I keep.
Go ahead and put that up on the screen there, if you could. His final quote there that rolls right into it.
I like this. It says, "It is amazing what you can accomplish if you do not care who gets the credit."
We got a minor spelling error on that, but what you can accomplish if you do not care who gets the credit. So
that's
there. It's fixed immediately. We like that.
You know, nobody likes working with a show off. Nobody likes being around somebody who takes your credit when you do all the good work, and that's very important in team building. And as somebody who's running a small business, it's so important you recognize your employees and express the gratitude that you have. And if and when you do get the wins as a company, and if you're the CEO and you get the credit, you got to give credit where credit's due. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, and what a team that you've put together there. That last week we talked about employee reviews and how you need to recognize those employees. So thank you for adding that. That backs up everything that we said. But I love this quote. It is amazing what you can accomplish if you do not care who gets the credit. How many people are there? Unfortunately, there's not enough people out there that believe in this,
right.
And it's a crucial thing that I think it shows the humility of a company when they can have that kind of philosophy. It's not just all about what they do; it's about what the team can accomplish. So, absolutely phenomenal. We're going to end the show today, with a few testimonials of some people who have used Avercast. I'm sure there's some people on here that are now saying, "Man, I wished I had contacted them." It's not too late. You can involve them now so that you can save this from happening down the road. So, Jason, we are so grateful. We want you to stay here and talk about our training topic that we're gonna end here about valuing companies. But before we do that, we want to end with this testimonial video of some of your customers and what the successes you brought to their company.
Thank you.
Good. We'll roll right into that.
So we had been in discussion to find a demand planning solution for years. Finally, we reached the point where we were running a very large multi-million-dollar business on Excel spreadsheets. And, it just kind of hit the point where it was top priority and we needed to move on an implementation.
And Avercast was one of the list of people that we could look at, knowing the background of the product, the forecasting algorithms and the focus forecasting capabilities within it. It was a natural one for us to work with.
So by using the software that Avercast gives us, we're allowed to cut down our man hours. We can actually focus on the process and opportunities for improvement rather than making sure we're just doing 100 or 200 SKUs a month. Avercast gives us that flexibility to be able to say, okay, I need to focus on the highly volatile items, and I'm going to let the system drive everything else, because now I can spend more time on what drives my business rather than worrying about everything in my business.
Really getting that level of service of, I'd really like to see a report this where, can you do this, can you do that? The flexibility, the capability, and the turnaround time on getting reporting or features is super incredible compared to other softwares that I've used. I mean, just that service level is incredible.
Because it is much more capable than what we had, and it's opened up many more possibilities that we had not considered. Just looking at the amount of money that I've saved in investments, which is significant. I can't get into specific details, but that is continuing to grow. Month after month, year after year, as we look at new opportunities that the Evercast solution is allowing for us.
There's reports that I needed, and they were able to create an SQL for me, and I could just go in there and get the data that I need, modify it. I've been able to modify it as I need it, and they're really good. It's a great supportive team.
Before Avercast, we were on Demand Solutions. It worked well for us for a number of years, but the customer service was lacking. When we started having issues with the software, we made a couple of phone calls and found Jason and his bunch, and they went above and beyond to make sure that we had everything we needed.
Definitely working with the Evercast team is what made a lot of our successes happen in our supply chain. As we decided what we needed, very approachable. I've been on calls with Gene, Clark, where they come up, bring up my data, show me how it's calculated, why it's calculated that way, what a better method is to forecast, what a better way to look at the system.
They are available anytime, 24 hours a day, and they are always willing to give us help and support. So that's the best part I like about Evercast, that they always put the customer and the partner first so that they are successful.
Well, great testimonials there from some of your clients, and I know that some of the names that you couldn't divulge actually were some of those people in there, and great successful. You're looking at some of the biggest companies in the world there that utilize Avercast technology, and that's what is possible with a company here in Eastern Idaho. So encourage you to look them up, Avercast.com. And look into what their services are, and I can tell you that they're well worth it. So thank you, Jason Averill, for being here today. So our training topic today is business valuation, and so that's one of the reasons I invited you to be the co-host.
I'm glad you
today.
did.
So talk to us about, we've had you as a guest on the show before, but kind of talk to us about where business valuations is at.
Yeah, so the first rule of business valuation is to establish the reason you're valuing the business. It could be everything from selling to a partner to selling on the open market to a divorce, unfortunately, to any number of things.
Children selling on.
Selling to children, anything like that, and that sort of informs where you start with these different approaches we have. I don't know if you want me to go through these different approaches real quick. But the three different approaches to valuing the business is income driven, where you use the earnings of the company and you project them ahead, and you do a forecast, and then you discount that back to what's the present value of those future earnings. There's the asset driven method, where you view the company as this basket of assets that create this revenue, and the value of those assets intact drives the value of the business. And then there's the market-driven approach, where you look at other companies that
technology companies could fall into that. So like Jason's company is just what can the market, if it's dealing especially with the technology, that's where you're.
And the reality is you might dip into a couple of these. When I'm doing it, I kind of look at all three and see if I'm seeing consistencies, and then I know we're getting down to a good value. right? A company, Jason's company is a good example of industry differences.
Yeah.
The industry, it varies dramatically. With technology at one end and food service or restaurants at the other end of where that valuation tends to lie.
And one of the biggest things that I hope that our listeners will gauge from this is if this is something happening that you see happening within the next 10 years, now is the time to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
And we came up with a few things that are key that you need to start working on this. It's not something you aren't going to be a smart business person if you decide today that you want to start selling your business tomorrow, because you're going to be unprepared and you're going to get much less for that company unless you plan for it and plan for what you're going to be happening years down the road.
Waiting till the last minute, you're giving control to the market.
Yeah.
Right. And I get people call me. I've had 2 meetings in the last week where exactly this happened, where people call and say, time for me to sell. This is where I need to exit. And those two don't align. And I'm not talking like there's a 10% difference in value. I'm talking sometimes they think they need triple, usually about double what the market will bear.
Yeah.
So your 10-year advice is great because it does that. It keeps the end goal in mind, that first point.
Yep.
That you can then build the business to accomplish that end goal.
Yeah, very good. So keep the end goal in mind. Number 2 here on the screen here, organize and audit your company's financials. I would bet you that this is a key thing in your company that because all successful companies run their business by their financials.
Absolutely. I mean, we have a finance director, plus I have a CFO for hire, and I can't afford a CFO, so I have a CFO for hire that comes and advises us. You got to have good people that know what they're doing to make those decisions. And
when I had my pretty large company, that I was trained that you run your business by your financials, and if anything changes more than 1%, you're all over it. So anything changes month to month more than 1%, and if companies, and that's why I was able to get a good multiple for the selling of that business that I had. So number 3, view your business from a buyer's perspective. People who called you aren't doing that. They're looking from their own perspective of what they need.
Yeah, the easiest way to do this is to sit down and pretend like you're buying your company for the price you want. And you say, if I put this much money down and I get a loan for the rest and I need to make a small salary, what
is it going to cash flow?
Is it going to cash flow? And is it going to fit into the box that the Small Business Administration tends to put those companies into?
Yep.
And just that activity right there will open your eyes.
It is, and you gotta plan this before. And this is one that I know Jason has done at Abercast, is build the right team.
Yeah.
And that takes time. You have to mold the right people that have the right type of attitudes and building the right type of company. And when I grew my somewhat large business, I had a left-hand salesperson and I had a right-hand operations person, and I could trust those 2 people to do whatever I needed in that company. So you got to build the right team, and it takes a little bit of time to find those right people.
Sure.
The next one, strategize potential structures. And that's something, once again, you can't do the day before you want to sell.
That's right. The size of the company often drives this, but all of these different possibilities about whether you structure the sale as an asset sale or as a stock sale, or they're all taxed differently. And so owners have to know going in what their tax liability is going to be.
Yep.
And then when you start talking about...
don't mention that.
Do you have stories?
Oh, man, that one hurts. I sold my business, and when I wrote that check out for, let's just say $350,000 to Uncle Sam, then all of a sudden,
it got real, didn't it?
On that.
Rubber met the road, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like, oh, man, what was I thinking?
Yeah, but all of that structure plays into this because it plays into the future tax burden for the buyer, plays into your immediate tax burden.
Yep.
And there may be ways to defer that. Your CPA can help you defer those taxes.
Wish I'd thought about that.
Can help you, and it's often a win-win in doing so. So it plays into the negotiation, your willingness to be flexible on when you get paid.
Yep.
Also drives your value.
Yep. So. Excellent. And the last one here, visualize your post-monetization life. And I encourage you to be cautious with that, I took part of the sale of my business out as keeping my CEO salary for the next 2 years, and I played like I was retired at the age of 40, and it was the ending results was that I wished I hadn't have done that.
Yeah, didn't work out.
So you got to be smart in the things, and I encourage you to reach out there and talk to smart people like Chip that can help you.
Thank you.
With your business valuation. So a little bit long on the training today, but we hope it's good. Now I'm going to ask a trivia question here, and we're going to put my cell phone number up on the screen. And I've got a great book here, The Complete Guide to Selling Your Business. And so if you are thinking about selling it, I want you to text me. And the answer that I want you to text me is, where did the name Avercast come from?
Wow.
We mentioned it earlier in the show. So if you can text me and tell me where the name Avercast came from, then you'll
win a book.
You'll get the book, and we'll ship it out to you if you're not here local. But if not, we'll make sure you get this book, The Complete Guide to Selling Your Business. So if you're looking at selling, you need this book. So and my phone's going off already. So very good. So keep texting me. Maybe they haven't got the answer right. So let's talk about the show next week. We've got I've got two options. I got two people that I've got. One person is thinking that they may not be able to make it, so I've got another person lined up. So we're going to have, I can tell you, I've got two executives in two big companies in the area. And if the one can't make it, then he'll be on the show in January. But I've got another person lined up that's with a big revolutionary company. So we will wait to see who's on the show next week.
Suspense.
It is. The suspense will kill everybody. But we will have a great show.
Excellent.
Tyler, we missed you. Get back here. But I got to tell you, this is what you could look like, my friends.
Just call me Bald Tyler.
That's right. Thank you, Jason. And we wish you the best with Avercast.
Really, yeah.
And what a great company. And we know that big things are ahead with Avercast.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
You betcha. Thanks for tuning in to Talkin Business. We'll see everybody next week.
The most powerful and influential form of communication is the story. When you understand somebody's story, you understand them on a deeper level, and then they become unforgettable. They may not need your service now, but when they do, they're going to remember you because they remember your story. My name's Tyson, and at Newline, my mission is to make your business unforgettable. I spent time around a lot of businesses that I have been amazed by their culture. I've been amazed by how they do their job, and I thought, if only more people knew about this company. What would it be like if everybody within your audience had the opportunity to experience you, to experience what you do from the comforts of their own home where they don't feel like they're being sold to? I think what the coolest thing about video and marketing is that it provides sort of a proxy experience. Experience what it would be like to work with you. That's exactly what video can provide. I'm going to come in and sit down with you, and we're going to talk. We're going to collaborate. We're going to find out what's working for you, what's not working for you. And I'm going to take the things that's working for you, I'm going to make those things more accessible to more people in a more omnipresent space. Within the gears of a company, video has the potential to duplicate, automate, and replicate the fundamental elements, the fundamental drivers of your business, freeing you up so that you have more time that you can dedicate to things that are going to be more profitable for you. I think probably the biggest reason that people don't use video more, even though they know how well it works, is because stage fright. They hate being in front of the camera. So when I come to your office or you come into my studio, I try very hard to make the atmosphere lighthearted and humorous, and we're gonna get work done, but we're gonna have fun with it.
He's made it enjoyable. We've had a lot of laughs on set in the studio. We're not comfortable sitting in front of a camera, and he makes it easy to do that. He takes our mistakes and our fumbling around and turns it into something that is just incredible.
All I want to do is take your influence and share it with more people. That's what video is for. Video is the last piece of the puzzle, but it's all you. If you're ready to know how video can benefit your business, fill out the form, brag about yourself. If I think that I'm going to be the best fit for you and that I can help you, then I will reach out very quickly.